Tara Betts, and I'm the author of Break the Habit. I'm also the lit editor at New City, and I'm really excited to be a part of this project called Inside for Indies, where we're raising money in particular for the bookseller, but also to raise awareness about all of the financial upheaval that's happening for independent bookstores. And for me, it's really important because independent bookstores are community spaces. They're one of the few places you can go to for, in many ways, a public education about the world of writing, the world of letters and literature. And it's a good place for people to meet up and network. And also, sometimes people bring their kids and their families to bookstores. Or just meet their friends. A lot of my friends over the years I've made through frequenting independent bookstores. And I'm really excited because since I moved back to Chicago a few years ago, I have built a relationship with 57th Street Books and Seminary Co-op Books, moderated several discussions for them and events where they've worked. I've read at Volumes Bookstore, which is located in Wicker Park, and I love their space. I love Women and Children First as a woman. That's one of those historic places in Chicago where you have to go as a woman writer because it's probably one of the oldest women-owned bookstores in the country. It's been around, since like the 70s, I think? Yeah, that might be right. But it's still going strong. It's still doing events. A lot of the bookstores are doing virtual events now. I hope you can make time. If maybe you don't order the regular amount of books that you get, maybe you go ahead and just order at least a couple books from your bookstore. Maybe make a commitment to order a book once a month. I think I've kind of met that limit. If we spun around, you could see this is my living room, so I'm in a clean shot. But to the right of me, there's a bench that is loaded down with fiction and nonfiction. And behind the camera, there's actually a bunch of fiction books. It's like five shelf bookcases that have double rows of fiction on them. And then there's like two smaller bookcases that have nonfiction on them. So basically, my house is called the library by a lot of my friends. This is my living room, hence the purple couch with the matching purple drapes. I watch a lot of movies in here. I eat a lot of popcorn in here. I do a lot of knitting in here. But this is also the room where I do a lot of writing. And I have a big fancy desk that really is storage space in my dining room. I've never felt comfortable just writing at the desk, even though I love having a desk. I feel more comfortable writing in this room or writing on my porch, which is beyond these windows behind me. I actually like when it's colder out to write here on this sofa, and I have a rolling chair that I got from IKEA that's adjustable, and I put my laptop on there. My friend and upstairs neighbor Aurelius makes fun of me, and he says, what if people knew that you were writing all this stuff on a chair? And I think it's still a useful thing though, because then you can just roll the desk out of the way, or adjust it as you see fit. So I think that's why I enjoy it so much. But also too, since I've been teaching for a really long time, I like writing in here because sometimes I like to watch shows that can function like video wallpaper while I write. So sometimes it'll be like, yeah, I could play ocean sounds. I could have jellyfish at the aquarium on a YouTube video and have that be like a quiet meditative space for me. Sometimes it's jazz. But I also will sometimes watch stuff like, when Golden Girls came back on Hulu and I was grading papers, or I was trying to think what was I doing at a certain point in my life. So I'll just put it on in the background and work that way. So that's part of my writing routine. So this is the last poem in my book, Break the Habit, and it's It's called Go. It's a golden shovel. It borrows a line from Gwendolyn Brooks' poem Old Mary, and that line is, "My last defense is the present tense. It little hurts me now to know I shall not go." So if you go back and find Old Mary, read the rest of that poem too. But mine is called Go. If you examine the embers of my life, they will be burned to the last. If anything is worth loving, defense rings its resonant siren. Weaponry is an option that boldly blacksmiths the tender blooming sprout of the present. I seek methods to fortify a steely tense because the heart requires smelting. It wavers in the hungry yellow tones, little strong licks of heat that echo many hurts. I cannot deny what rocked and kept me, what once made me feel safe, gone now, ashes, dust, burned, singed, blown to a language that wind and soil must know. This wild whisper runs inside me, and I must answer it, or the rustling of skin shall molt what is left. I will never, I will not allow myself to live half a life, so I must go. For me, bookstores are usually like kind of like a solitary space in some ways. It's like a space where I think. I know one time I was at Women and Children First. That's how I met Zadie Smith. I met her when White Teeth came out, and I was one of like 3 or 4 people who showed up when she came to read from the book. And I was just so taken with this book because the opening of White Teeth is just amazing. It's so clear how her career took off from reading that novel. And she was at the bookstore, and there's like 3 or 4 people there, and I got a chance to talk to her. And now that would probably never happen, you know. I had a similar experience with Walter Mosley at Heritage Books, which was a black-owned bookstore on Granville in Rogers Park, like years and years ago. It was shortly after Walter Mosley had been named Bill Clinton's favorite author. So I went to the bookstore because I knew the bookstore owner very well, BJ Marchioma. And I said, "Oh, BJ's gonna have him at the store. Let me roll through." I go, it is BJ and me and Walter Mosley. And I was totally just taken aback and shocked and nervous. And I almost was like halfway hiding behind the bookcase. And I was like, "Yeah, I really love your books, but you're like famous, so I'm a little bit nervous." And he was super nice. And I'm trying to make some time right now to read more fiction. So I just finished reading Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. I don't have that in my stack. I'm reading Memorial Drive by Natasha Trethewey. And I know I'm probably going to be reading a couple poetry books. So there's like 3 of them in this stack. I don't want to hold them all up. I'm definitely interested in reading The Heads of Colored People by Nafissa Thompson. I want to read Rion Amilcar Scott's latest book. Who else am I thinking about? There's another one. I've been wanting to check out Deesha Philyaw's book, The Secret Lives of Church Women. Hearing really good things about that. I've been wanting to catch up on Nalo Hopkinson, who is one of my favorite science fiction writers. I recommend her to everyone. And as far as poets, I think I'm starting to just go back. Well, first off, because August everyone is doing the Seeley Challenge, which was inspired by poet Nicole Seeley. And I have a box of poetry books that I have to read. Like, they've just been accumulating to where it's overflowing out of the box. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to read some of those for the Seeley Challenge. I really love that I'm writing again in Chicago. I feel like the ideas come to me easier. I had lots of stimulation on the East Coast. I got introduced to a lot of different things out there, but I felt like just the ability to process that, to have just enough going on where your creativity is still inspired and stimulated, but also feel like you have space where you can step back. I have that in Chicago, and I really appreciate that as a writer. I still use a notebook. So, if you have not seen it, if you see me out with this or something like this, I'm probably journaling and I write a lot of stuff. So I'll just show you, boop, there's that. Because I don't want you to try to zoom in and see whatever I wrote. But I do try to keep a regular journal just so you can see kind of what it looks like. And that's been part of my practice ever since I started teaching and going to open mics. And even as a journalist, I had professors when I was in undergrad who, when I started writing about hip hop, literature, going to events, doing news coverage in college, they were like, write down things people say, write down the image that pops up. Keep a regular journal, read a whole lot, make mischief, be a close observer of the world. This is Dr. Betts signing off. And be safe. Stay healthy. I probably look like a nerd now.